All right, so 7.3, part 2, is partial fraction decomposition. So we're going to be given this big fraction here, and our goal is to split it up into two little fractions. So we're just taking a big piece and breaking it down into two small ones. One thing about this example, it's already done for us, but this is supposed to be x minus 4. Just because what you break it down to has to be the same. So this is x minus 4, x plus 2. This has to be x minus 4, x plus 2. So the example is just had a typo in it. This page just shows you the math behind it. Again, we're just taking this big fraction, splitting it up into separate pieces. And then this slide is just explaining what we're doing in words. So step 1, we want to factor the denominator. Step 2, split the fractions for each term in the denominator. Step 3, give the numerator a, b, and c for each fraction. We'll go over all of these when we do the examples, but if you ever get lost and forget what to do next, you can always refer back to this page. It just explains it in words. So let's take a look at example 6. So we have to find the partial fraction decomposition of our fraction here. So our denominator is already factored for us, so all we have to do is split it up. In our first fraction, we're going to have x minus 3 on the bottom. And then in our second fraction, we're going to have x plus 5 on the bottom. And then on the top, we're going to put a and b, because we're going to find out what those two values are. The next step is we want to multiply the top and the bottom of our first fraction by whatever is missing from here, from our denominator that we started with. So we have x minus 3, so we need to multiply the top and the bottom by x plus 5, because that's what's missing. We do the same thing for our second one, but here x minus 3 is missing, so we multiply the top and the bottom by x minus 3. So now our bottoms are both x minus 3 times x plus 5, which is the same as we have here from the start. And then our new top is a times x plus 5 plus b times x minus 3. And all we're doing now is setting our tops equal to each other. So we set the top of the left side equal to the top of the right side. So since our denominators were the same, we can ignore them, and we're just setting the tops equal to each other. Everybody with me so far? Any questions? All right, next what we want to do is find out when our parentheses here are equal to 0. And we're going to plug whatever that value is in for x. So what would make x plus 5, what would give this the value of 0? What would we have to plug in for x to make this equal to 0? For x plus 5? Negative 5. So one of our values is x is equal to negative 5. And then what about for x minus 3? What would we have to plug in there? Positive 3. So these are the two values we're going to plug in for x. So let's start with x minus 5 first. We're going to plug in negative 5 in for all of our x's. So we have 6 times negative 5 plus 14 is equal to a times negative 5 plus 5 plus b times negative 5 minus 3. And now we solve. What's 6 times negative 5? Negative 30. What's negative 30 plus 14? Awesome, negative 16. And then one of these A's and B's are always going to cancel. That's why we picked a number that gave us 0 here. So -5 plus 5 is 0. So our A cancels out. So we're just left with 0 there. So we get rid of the A. Now we have B times -5 minus 3. What's -5 minus 3? -8 times B. And then what do we need to do to solve for B? Divide by -8 on both sides. So what do we get for B? B is equal to 2. Now we want to do the same thing and find A. Find A. So we're going to plug in 3. So we have 6 times 3 plus 14 is equal to A times 3 plus 5 plus B times 3 minus 3. 6 times 3 plus 14 would give us what? 6 times 3 is 18. 18 plus 14?
32.
32. And then we have A times 3 plus 5, so 8A. And then what happens to the B? It cancels. 3 minus 3 is 0. 0 times B is 0. Now we just solve for A. So divide both sides by 8. And what do we get for A? 4. Now we just take our A and B and plug it back into the original equation that we have up in red, up top. So we have A is 4 over x minus 3. B is 2, so plus 2 over x plus 5. So this is our answer. Let's practice one more. So first thing we want to do is set it up. We have to break up our denominator. So we're going to have A over our first part, so x minus 2, plus B over x minus 5. What do we have to do next?
On the A side?
Awesome. We multiply it by the part that's missing. So A gets multiplied to x minus 5, and B gets multiplied by x minus 2. What do we do next?
X minus 5 plus B x minus 2.
What's that equal to?
To x minus 14.
Awesome. So we just set the tops equal to each other. So x minus 14 is equal to A times x minus 5 plus B times x minus 2. Now, what values can we plug in for x? Five, because that would make this 0. And then
2.
what else? And 2. Perfect. So let's plug them in. So first we're plugging in 5. So we have 5 minus 14 is equal to A times 5 minus 5 plus B times 5 minus 2. What's 5 minus 14? 9. -9. What is 5 minus 5? 0. So what happens to the A? Cancels. We get rid of it. And then we have B times 5 minus 2, so this would be 3. b. What do we need to do to solve for b?
Divide by 3.
Divide by 3. So what do we get for b? -3. All right, now let's plug in 2. So we have 2 minus 14 is equal to a times 2 minus 5 plus b times 2 minus 2. 2 minus 14 is what?
-12.
-12. And then 2 minus 5 would be -3 times a. And then what happens to the b?
Cancels.
Cancels, because b times 0 is 0. Then we have to divide both sides by -3. What do we get for a? Four. Thank you. All right, what do we have to do next? Plug it in. So we're plugging it into the red at the top. So we just plug in our a and our b. So we have 4 over x minus 2. And since this is a -3, instead of putting a plus in between them, we're going to do a minus 3 over x minus 5. So this is our answer. All right, on the next page, we're not solving them, we're just writing the form of partial fraction decomposition. So we are just leaving it in the a over whatever it is plus b over whatever it is. We're not solving it out. We're just breaking it down and leaving our numerators as a, b, and c, whatever we need to. So first thing we need to do is factor the bottom. The first two examples were given to us factored already, so this one's just a little bit different. So how do we factor x squared plus 10x plus 9? What are two factors of 9 that add to 10? 9 and 1. So how would we write that? What do we do with those?
X plus 9 and x plus 1.
X plus 9 and x plus 1. So this is going to be equal to, we got to break them up, so x plus 9. We can put a on top plus b over x plus 1. It doesn't matter the order. You could say a over x plus 1 plus b over x plus 9. It doesn't matter. So this is just setting it up. We don't have to solve this one. There's a few questions in WebAssign that just ask you to set it up. So we just have to factor. Let's look at number 2. So this one's a little bit different because we have x plus 1 cubed. Whenever we have an exponent here, if we have a binomial squared or binomial cubed or to the 4th power, we have to include the binomial for every exponent leading up to it. So we have to have x plus 1 to the 1st power, and then x plus 1 squared, and then x plus 1 cubed. So whenever we have an exponent, we just need every term that leads up to that. So if this was a 4th power, we would need x plus 1 to the 1st power, x plus 1 squared, x plus 1 cubed, x plus 1 to the 4th power. So we just have to include everything before it. All right, and then the third one on this page. How would we break this up?
Would it be like x minus 1 and then x minus 2 and x minus 2?
So x minus 1, and then x minus 2, and then what?
X minus 2 again.
X minus 2 squared.
Oh, okay.
So just like we did before, where we had to have everything before the cubed. We have squared, so we have to have that x minus 2 to the first power also. And then we can just put a, b, and c on top. So this one we have to solve it all the way out. What's the first step? What do we need to do? Not the top, but the bottom. Got to factor the bottom. So how do we factor x cubed minus 4x?
Is it x minus 4x?
X. So we take out an x because they both have an x in common, and then this would be x squared minus 4.
Minus 4.
And then how can we factor x squared minus 4?
X plus 2. And x minus 2.
X plus 2, x minus 2. Perfect. So our denominators on the right are going to be x, x plus 2, and x minus 2. And then on top, we're just going to put a, b, and c. So we have to multiply the tops and the bottoms by what's missing. So what's missing in our first fraction, a over x?
X plus 2 and x minus 2.
X plus 2 and x minus 2. So we have to multiply the top by both and the bottom. But the bottom's just going to end up as the original one, so. What about the second one? What's missing there?
X and then x minus 2.
X and x minus 2. And then the third one? X and x.
X and x plus 2.
Plus 2. Perfect. So now we just have to write it out. So x squared plus 12x plus 12 is equal to a times x plus 2 times x minus 2 plus b times x minus 2 plus c times x plus 2. So what value could we plug in for x, just looking at this here, that would make a cancel out? Remember, if this is equal to 0, or if this is equal to 0, the whole thing cancels out. So how can we get x plus 2 equal to 0? What do we need to plug in?
Minus 2 and 2.
Awesome. So we're going to plug in x is equal to negative 2, and x is equal to 2. And then looking at b, how would we get b to cancel out? What would we have to plug in here, or what could we plug in here?
0 and then 2.
0 and 2, but we're already plugging in 2 here. So we just have to add 0 to our list. And then for c, what would we need to get this to be 0 and this to be 0?
We already have it.
We already have it, 0 and negative 2. So we're just plugging in 3 numbers here. So first, let's plug in negative 2. So we have negative 2 squared, negative 2 squared, plus 12 times negative 2, plus 12 is equal to a times -2 plus 2 times -2 minus 2 plus b times x, which is -2, times -2 minus 2 plus c times -2 times -2 plus 2. All right. So what happens to our a? What is -2 plus 2?
It cancels out. 0.
0. So the a cancels out. B, we have b times -2, and then -2 minus 2 would be -4. So it's -2 times -4?
8.
Positive 8. So this would be 8b. And then c. What's -2 minus 2? 0, so it cancels out. So here we're just solving for b. We got to work out the left side too. So what's -2 squared? 4. And then 12 times -2 is -24 plus 12. So 4 minus 24 would be -20 plus 12. And -20 plus 12 is -8. So -8 is equal to 8b. To solve for b, we have to divide both sides by 8. So what do we get for b? -1. So we found b. Now we need to plug in 2. So we have 2 squared plus 12 times 2 plus 12 is equal to, instead of plugging it in and writing it all out like we did here, if you want to just see that when we plug in 2 here, we're going to get 0, so our a cancels out. We don't even have to rewrite it. Also, if we plug in 2 here, we get 0, so our b cancels out, so we don't even have to write it. So then we're just left with c times 2 times 2 plus 2. So that just saves you a little bit of time and effort. So let's work it out. 2 squared is 4 plus 24 plus 12. 4 plus 24 is 28. 28 plus 12 is 40. And then c times 2 times 4, so this would be 8c. Divide both sides by 8. What do we get for c?
5.
5. Now we do the same thing for 0. So we have 0 squared plus 12 times 0 plus 12 is equal to a times 0 plus 2 times 0 minus 2. And then we can see here for b, if we plug in 0, b is going to cancel out. And for c, if we plug in 0 here, c is going to cancel out. So we're just left with finding a. So 0 squared is just 0, plus 12 times 0 is just 0, plus 12. So we're left with 12 on the left side. On the right side, we have a times 2 times -2. So this would be -4a. Divide both sides by -4. So what do we get for a?
-3.
-3. So we found our a, our b, and our c. So what do we have to do next?
plug it in.
Plug it in. So we have negative 3 over x. Can you guys see this color on black? Not really. Negative 3 over x. Our b is negative, so we're going to put minus 1 over x plus 2. And then plus 5 over x minus 2. That's our answer.
Do we get this type of question like on the test?
Yes. So this one we don't have to solve again. How would we set it up though? Oh, actually, I think we do have to solve this one. We'll practice another solving one since we have time. What do we have to do first here?
Factor the denominator.
Factor the denominator. So what are two factors of negative 40 that add to negative 3?
5 and negative 8.
Awesome. So x plus 5 and x minus 8. So we put those under here. So we have x plus 5 and x minus 8. And just a and b on the top. What do we have to multiply by both of these now?
The x minus 8 and then x plus 5.
X minus 8 times a and x plus 5 times b. So then we set it equal to what's on our left side, so we set all the top equal to each other. So x plus 3 is equal to a times x minus 8 plus b times x plus 5. What do we have to do next?
Now you have to see if an x value can make it 0.
So what value gives us 0 here?
8.
Awesome. So x is equal to 8 is going to be the first thing we plug in, and then what value gives us 0 here?
Negative 5.
Negative 5. So now we plug them in. So we have 8 plus 3 is equal to a times, we know when we plug in 8, we're going to get 0 here, so I don't even have to write the a because we know it's going to cancel out. So this is just equal to b times 8 plus 5. 8 plus 3 is 11. What's 8 plus 5? 13. So glad you guys are awake today. And how do I solve for b?
Divide by 13.
Divide by 13. So 11 over 13 is equal to b. Now let's plug in negative 5. So negative 5 plus 3 is equal to a times negative 5 minus 8. And then I can see when I plug in negative 5 here, it's going to cancel, so I don't even have to write it again. Negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. And negative 5 minus 8 is negative 13. How do I solve for a?
Divide by negative 13.
Thank you. At least Leo's awake. And then what do I get for a?
2 over 13.
Awesome. Now I just need to write my answer. So when I plug in a fraction, the numerator goes on top, the denominator goes in the bottom. You don't put the whole fraction over the denominator because then you'd have a fraction and a fraction. It's just not cute. So we have 11 over 13 times x plus 5. And then 2 over 13 times x minus 8. And this is our answer here.